guy needs it that bad,
I
he can have it.
fixed it at the last
That's
meeting
fine.
and it's off again.
He can, well, it depends on what they have.
Yeah.
They have a gun, they can have it.
Yeah.
Let me help you.
I'd rather face a gun than a knife. With a gun, it's quick and easy. With a knife, you're gonna suffer. Plain and simple.
Either or, I'm not.
Yeah.
Not real keen on
No.
either
It
option.
depends, JoJo. Some of these guys are not the best shots.
Also, in other words, they were in shot, that guy's lucky he's alive, really and truly. From me to you.
They're all lucky they're alive.
Yeah.
They're all lucky they're
Oh, my
alive.
goodness.
Did you see that video?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah.
They kept
Liquor
playing
store,
it and
mother,
playing
daughter.
it and
To go
playing
right
it.
through then?
Well, you know,
It went-
it's getting where you almost feel like you have to pack a gun. But the bad thing about packing a gun is if you have it, someplace along the line, you're gonna use it. That's not a good thing.
But if you get to that point where you think you need to use it, maybe it is a good thing.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, there'll be a time you're happy to have
If
it.
it's desperate enough.
I
you
just,
really
I
have
just
to
don't,
use
I
it.
just don't like the fact that, maybe we'll go back to the old west. That's
I don't know,
not.
sometimes I'm thinking.
Put it this way, I don't travel without mine. But in town, it's a different story. Once I get out on the highway, mine is with me at all times.
Yeah, I know.
In town,
Always better to have
half of these people in this
Yeah, I know
town,
that.
all you gotta do is go like that and they run away. Yeah.
Unbelievable, fella, puts on his.
Leave it
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, we've had a-
You
we've
know,
had a
that's
murder.
part of your uniform.
Well, I know, it's getting, it's, no.
The heroin is bad.
Yeah.
Heroin's really bad.
Drugs is causing most of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, you got us turned on.
Don't turn this on when we're talking about it. We are going
Yeah, we'll
live.
get serious.
We're live.
Not yet, we're live.
And then after this, we call.
Can't cut it off now, it's already out there.
All right, so let's call the meeting to order, please.
Oh, do we want to call Derek first?
Gee, that clock is really off.
Yeah, and if I'm excited to keep, yeah.
It's just like,
So do we want to get him on first or after?
I was gonna wait till we did roll call.
So let's stand for pledge allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Joe Martinez here.
George Pascal here.
Matthew Moreno here.
Kathy Bueno here.
No, 9.
No, you have to do that. Oh, maybe, no, you don't, I'm sorry, not on this one, I apologize.
Okay, they just did roll call. Are you here?
Yeah. Who are you?
Would you state your name, please?
Eric Navarette. Yeah.
Via phone. All right. Proof of notice, anybody have any issues with that? It looks fine to me. Okay, minutes from January 24th, 2018's meeting.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing.
We'll try to get a little louder for you.
Okay.
Public comments, we have anybody signed in over there? Which doesn't look like. Okay. Financial and billing reports.
Okay, well, we're doing pretty good. We have got our notice from our billing company that was basically following up what I said at the last meeting, where the February 15th to get those Medicare Part Bs out of the way. But then because they were waiting for the budget to pass, that was part of the add-on payments, or 23.5% add-on for being a super rural area that we could bill. So it's just a process where even though they were already there, those expired, then the Congress has to pass it, then CMS gets it, and then CMS finalizes it. So their plan is to await the release of Medicare approvals and the confirmation that the new reimbursement amounts have been released by CMS to the Medicare administrative contractors. Those are the people that we actually bill. And they're assured that the payments amount and the computer systems have been finalized, and then the delayed Medicare fee-for-service claims will be submitted for payment. So what the holdup has been on this, but we did get a nice payment from, where this is normally where we start looking not real good, just because we're waiting for that tax revenue to come in. But we did get $146, almost $147,000 in Medicaid payments in that 1 month, which is pretty significant. And so that's that delay that we were getting. And you see in the total accounts receivable, but then for that Medicaid or Medicare add-on to go to Medicare, so that CMS can actually, whatever the code is, it has to be in there so they can bill it. So that's what's going on. Other than that, I think everything was good. Billing company's doing well. $214,000 in accounts receivable, so in income. So that's pretty good. It's a pretty decent month to help us on months when we are, our full purchasing, but for us, there's only basically 4 of us. So instead of a PO system, we talked to Bernadette about this. She says it really doesn't make sense because there's not like JoJo needs to order something, so he has to get a PO. He orders it, then the PO goes to finance, and then finance. We don't. So what we're doing is actually on the receipt, we'll read delivery inspection. That's admin travel, and so that'll be under admin travel. Whereas if we go to a conference, it'll be up. Would like it, he'd be able to tell exactly where everything went. It's a code, and we talked about all the processes we have in place, and yeah. Well, Bernadette seemed to think that as long as he knew, she said what he wanted to be able to do is he'll have a receipt and he'll look it up, and if he can see it's
And that's the key is.
And that's what we're doing now, and not
That's
even,
what I'm saying.
and Bernadette would take them, and then she would try and figure out where these things went, and it was kind of and that, remember 1 month, it was like, I know I had travel, and it's not, I've got to kind of get that worked out. Well, now that won't happen, because we're gonna put the chart of accounts on there, so when Bernadette gets it, it'll.
She already knows what to put line item to go under.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, that's a much cleaner.
As long as the receipts are turned in and stuff, and they tag it. the
And
right
label.
number. Yeah,
Right,
and
yeah.
label, yeah.
And
To
we
what
get the
account and stuff.
packing slips.
Right, if it's an item, that the packing slip is going with it, so Mike knows, okay, you ordered something, I know what it's for, and the packing slip is here, I know it was received. So
Yeah, he did talk about that as well.
that's all in place.
Well, what was that which to? Motion
Well, we need a
on.
financial. Okay, so I need a motion on the financial and billing report as reported.
So moved.
I talked you into it.
Roll call.
Joe Martinez, yes.
George Dasco, yes.
Derek Everett, yes.
Matthew Moreno, yes.
Kathy Bueno, yes. Okay,
David
now,
Better,
Yes.
thank you, thanks, Derek. Director's report.
I think I had printed 2 headlines, but anyway, in Washington, they had some firefighters that were responding to a medical call were held at gunpoint in Washington State. You don't usually associate that kind of stuff. Those incidents are becoming more and more prevalent. And then I think after what we just saw at the Parkland School, that that would not happen here. There's a headline that I pulled out, I think it's sitting on my desk. I printed out, but the EMS was delayed from entering that school. And that's going to end up being something that's discussed, and that those kids laid there. So that just doesn't happen here. We had another training last week, and it's freezing. We did an evening training in, was it Guzzo's house? And that was pretty interesting because it's an interesting layout. It's 2-story.
2-story, the whole brick building way.
Yeah. And Derek was there, and Jay from PD was there, and we actually had attendance from Walsenburg. So this joint agency tactical team, Los Angeles and down into Raton, that there's going to be.
This is for, they want us to put it on and go up there and train them on how to do it, so.
That standard response protocol that Nick and I and these guys have been doing for a couple of
I
years
mean,
now.
because of what's been on the news and stuff, you know, other deputies that didn't go in, that stayed outside in the park and everything else, I mean, it's, makes a guy wonder what training they actually are doing and what is actually going on.
I think there's a serious investigation into that going on.
Oh, yeah.
To find out what,
Big time.
what happened. It seems.
Somebody goes,
Expand and get out there in these rural communities.
Years or more. I
Right.
think we're just barely.
Judy went out, at least 3 years ago.
well,
They have
it's
homing,
it's
they-
better to
they just
prepare
plug it
than
in.
not be prepared.
It's already pre-programmed.
That's it, that's what I'm saying, you know, and I'm glad that it's going that way, and I'm glad other agencies are starting to see, because I mean,
We just did a drill today, 2 up at Primero, and it, you know, it's still a work in progress, and we're getting to that point, but everything went good, so.
Well, it'll always be a work.
you know, and you
Right.
never know, but it all boils down to.
And even once you're perfectly trained,
Sure,
there,
there's something will come
something
up,
will happen and it's
and
gonna
then
be.
you'll have to be prepared for
Well,
that.
we actually went on we did that warrant service, about 3 weeks ago, where we went
Oh, yeah.
over to the western. And so Gabe and I were in the back, had our med sled, so if somebody went down, there was gonna be somebody who had a J-PAC call out. We had the unofficial one with your guy up. So I mean, it's coming together.
We're moving forward.
Well, it shows that everybody's starting to work.
Just cooperation between agencies.
You know,
It's not,
getting in there.
and we probably
that
went
goes
through.
to show who cares then, you know?
And the PD has their own sim guns and ammunition, some for maybe $50 and Sims $40. But I mean, we were actually force on force, so we get.
Yeah, well, I'm glad, because after listening to all this stuff that's been going on,
Yeah. it's not-
and
not
I've
bad.
seen what you guys done before, so you know what you're doing, which is gonna benefit this community regardless.
Well, I think it just says a lot when you see things like this going across the country, that there's still people that are thinking that'll never happen in our community, and they're not being realistic, and that we can say here in Trinidad, we're thinking more real. In southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, we're being more realistic in that it can happen anywhere.
That's
These are
exactly.
little schools, they're not great big towns, and it's happening, and at least everybody's coming together to say, let's do what we can. We might not be perfect, we're not
And do
afraid
what
or
they have
stand
to do,
outside.
right, right.
So
Looks
I
like.
think we can be pretty
Well,
proud
good
as Bill,
response and-
knowing that we know at least
That's
what to
kinda
do.
debatable.
And the ambulance district guy, people showing, our guys, all 5 folks.
The protection of other,
When they back away or do something else, or just decide to, hey, it's, the dedication is gone.
If something
People do
happened in one of
things
these
because they're
schools or in
dedicated.
a courthouse or something, I couldn't imagine.
The number one priority is get in there, get them up.
Right.
Get in there, get them up, because the quicker you respond, the quicker, or you identify whatever that needs to be done, is get by a lot.
Okay, so that's it for that. The other thing is Barbara actually came to me, got approached here by Rio, right? And they have a van, they do transports for patients at the VA clinic, and they actually transport patients out of here too. And their van, they thought they'd get 300,000 miles on it, and it's got 300. So if the board was interested in doing that, we'd put it on the agenda for next action items.
We may want to contact them too.
Right,
and
see if
they're
there's an
interested.
interest in that.
I think
I
to
do.
put it on the agenda is a good idea. What, is that what the list is? Or,
Yeah,
Okay.
just do it that way.
so that'll be on the next agenda.
I contacted a HR company that will handle complaints. They'll just charge us for the time that we use. There's no retainer, there's no anything. Like I
So in
said,
other words, we just, if you have a problem, you just let them know, they come in, do what they gotta do, and they just, I don't see a problem with that, you, George?
no,
I
I
think-
think
I
as
think
long
that's
as
the
we're
best.
proactive in handling some problems and they don't sit there.
Right.
That's right.
So this
Don't let
is
it fester.
complete, may still come to someone here, but here's someone completely outside that they can call and do this. 150 an hour, and then if we want them to go beyond that, actually investigate and do that stuff, it's 195 an hour. But we don't pay them a dime unless we actually use them.
Use them.
Oh, okay.
I sent the contract to Dodge last week, and I have not heard back. So if the board is okay with that, then I can approve that contract when Dodge approves it. You guys are okay?
What's the name of the company?
Trupp, T-R-U-P-P.
I thought he said
Oregon.
Trump.
It's a,
That's what I thought he had said.
it's a, I guess like a Norwegian word for teamwork or something, but I checked into the company, the woman that owns it, it's actually out of the Portland area up in Oregon, and she was named one of the 50 kind of movement. I spoke with her on the phone, she understood what we want, she was very reasonable, and said, yeah.
I think once we settle and we choose this company, or whatever company we choose, then we need to get a letter out to all the employees. and let them know
Here's the number.
that this is the avenue you will take with something that, and not everything should go through.
Right,
I mean,
right.
when they don't feel comfortable going to you or administration, or it's a situation where they can't go to administration.
But just that the board, okay, if Dodge okays that with me executing
Yeah.
that contract.
I'm
I just
good.
didn't want to, I wanted to make sure you were okay, I just didn't, and I would have had it here for you to look at, but Dodge hasn't, I haven't even gotten acknowledgement from anybody.
No, we're not signing a contract with them over a lengthy period.
Right, it's only for that,
Yeah.
the specific days.
Okay.
Okay.
That way, if for some reason down the line we're not satisfied, we can get somebody else.
Right.
So we're not obligated. Well,
And then
We're
once you
not
find out,
obligated
if you
to
can let us know what
pass a
that,
certain point.
implementation process would be, how you're gonna educate the team on the use, if there's posters or if it's education
Probably do an
done or
employee
whatever.
meeting and then,
Just
get
so,
the
just
people
keep us in the
involved.
loop, give us a report of that, so
okay.
we know.
We submitted 3 grants to CDPHE, one for the Lucas devices. If you haven't seen what they're doing with it, the Columbus Fire Department, those Lucas devices that we put the grants in, we have the loaner here, they've been in use for up to 5 hours and people have survived neurologically intact. It's just phenomenal. What they're doing in Columbus is they're taking them to the ER, they're putting them on ECMO, which is the heart-lung bypass, taking them to the cath lab, finding out what's going on, shocking their hearts, and these guys are walking out of the hospital. But we're talking about just the way that this thing does CPR, increases the blood flow so much more.
And you're only an hour from here to Pueblo anyway, so I mean, wow.
You could,
At the most 2 hours up from up the river.
but you could realistically take somebody here with that machine, take them to the
Yeah.
cath lab at St. Mary Corwin, while that machine is performing CPR and the STEMI, the ST elevation myocardial heart thing, that we would take them straight, because they need the cath lab, that's what they really need. So he wants to talk to the hospital, and we're gonna look out, setting up a meeting with the cath lab and the ER director up there, so that we can get people to where they need to be to get that definitive treatment, and hopefully improve survival rates. Dr. Weber and I are actually leaving tomorrow to go, there's an annual meeting, it's called the Gathering of Eagles, and it's a scientific conference that's it's mostly physicians and some medics and nurses, I say nurses, medic. But it's all the research. Dr. Pepe's gonna discuss this, the Lucas device and the heads-up CPR in greater detail there, so Dr. Weber, he's just, the man is brilliant, and he loves all that kind of
Where's
research
this
stuff. It's in Dallas,
Dallas?
and he's all a Twitter about going, because, I mean, what's funny about Dr. Weber is he's a regional medical director in a predominantly rural, other than Pueblo. But this guy is up on everything. He's up on the latest stuff. And I think that's what keeps us so fresh too, because if we come to him with something, he's already heard about it. He's already looked at it. So it's hard to catch him by surprise. So I think this conference will be a great great help for us in moving forward and maybe looking at some things that we can do that we hadn't thought of that they're doing in other areas. I think they just did research in at that stroke thing, where they said it was Kansas City, I can't remember. But they did this research where they were looking at strokes, and they're finding out that medics and hospitals are misdiagnosing stroke 68% of the time, which you
Wow.
wouldn't think is possible. And so they're trying to find new ways to come up with this. I'm sure that'll be discussed there too. But, you know, the two things that kill our people here, other than opioid overdoses, are, you know, heart trauma, heart disease, and strokes. And if we can get those things, find a way to handle, to diagnose them better, then hopefully we can have a better outcome. In addition to the Lucas devices, we asked for new radios because the ones we've had for several years, and they're not going to be serviceable come 2020. Motorola's one of those things where Motorola wants to make sure that they have to.
Can they reprogram?
The-
We're having a bunch of them reprogrammed to get, you know, on the new towers and some other stuff. I'm just.
Well, they're programmed, okay, they're on 800,
Right.
but they can't, they're saying that as of 2020, Motorola's not gonna have parts for them, they're not gonna,
Yeah, for the 2500s or whatever they
Yeah,
are.
and the 1500s, yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, they're,
because
basically,
we just-
it's their way of making sure.
Because we just had a bunch of them just reprogrammed.
Right.
But, you know, so.
Yeah, because we actually went to the APX.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what we've got quotes for and wrote the grant for is the APX system, so it'd be the same thing that the SO has and that PD is getting, so we'll all actually have the same radios, the
Yeah.
same system.
More cooperation.
Right. And the third thing we asked for is we have our sim man back there, we asked for a child simulator.
Yeah.
So that people get used, you know, that's. you
I
don't
think,
get
I think
lot
a
of-
child simulator would really be.
Well, you don't get a lot of kid calls,
Yeah,
and so
that's-
you don't get a lot of practice dealing with
If you
kids. so-
haven't.
We had Denver Children's come down with their simulator in a truck, and there was such great response from everybody that came from, you know, Walsinger, they came from Richone, and we had such great turnout from one simulator from Denver, and we can get it in this area. Better training for.
It helps out.
The last meeting, we talked about the snow vehicle, and we talked about those tracks, and I called the guy up there in Canada. And the tracks are $25,000 and up, and, but they do get free shipping.
Well, yeah, when you spend that kind of money, it better be free.
So, to me, that's a little,
Dude, that's like
Cost.
buying a vehicle and, I
That's a
mean, you know,
vehicle,
I
right.
mean, but, I mean, it's something that you need to look into some type that you're gonna be able to get, because, you know, up in them counties, there's some of them snows that get.
well, I think we know, there's some places we're just not gonna, can't get there with a grader, you're just not gonna get out. As a matter of fact, the Homeland Security meeting that Gabe and I went to in Pueblo, the Orfano emergency manager was like, you know, be prepared to be on your own for 72 hours, that's gotta go out the window. Because it may be, if we get a good 4, 5, 6 feet of snow, you better be prepared to be self-sufficient
That's it.
for a week.
Yeah.
We shut down that one year.
Yeah.
I keep hearing about that year, and that's what scares me.
07, and then let me
Because-
tell you, because I was out there, well, every day. We'd leave at 5 in the morning, wouldn't get back till 10, 11 o'clock at night, but get a couple hours sleep and go back out. But some of that snow is 8-foot drifts, 10-foot
Right.
drifts, and you sit there and even the dozers had a hell of a time breaking through.
Didn't they say they had to get the army out with dozers
Well,
when the ambulances had call in?
Yeah, they had to follow the whole bit, and that's one of them things, you know, like I said, snowcats and stuff, sure, you can climb up on it. But you're gonna have to have somebody to actually let you know where you're at, where's the road, or, because some of them canyons, when you get off, well, you're going
done,
straight down,
yeah.
regardless. And just pushing snow like that is, you just gotta wait, you know, and you do have to have people that know where you need to get to.
When I worked in
Because it's
Yellowstone, I saw
dangerous.
that, where people would be flying across on
Yeah. Snowmobiles and
snowmobiles,
stuff.
and then next thing you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because there's
Yeah,
a
I
lot
was
of
like, yeah, I
spots
don't
there.
wanna, I thought, oh, that might be fun going out there, and then after I saw one of those, I was like, yeah.
I mean, it may look like there's nothing there, and it could be one of them big valleys and you're gone.
Right.
You know,
So I think, you know, we want to look at some really aggressive tires with a plow, and then maybe that will get us to 90% of where we need to go. If we can get the snow out of the way and have something.
90% or, you know, find out from the county if there's somebody available.
Right, if we've got to,
You know, I
if
mean,
it's something that's beyond us, then we go to
because,
plan
I
B.
mean,
But
some of them
it'd be nice to
deals-
just have something where, look, just that one that we went, the ambulances can't get to. Jeep would, I think we could have
Yeah, I
gotten.
think-
But that way they wouldn't have to walk a mile
Even, what was it?
and maybe drag the guy, we could have gone in, loaded him up, taken him back to the ambulance, would have been much better for the patient, so. It just, we're just looking at.
You're just gonna need something very, very dependable to get up in and out, that's it.
Right. That's all I have.
How much were, what you applied for on them 3 issues?
The Lucas was 30, around 30.
Yeah. He responded to calls.
The radios were 45, and the child sim 60, 65. Yeah, so it's cheaper than the adult,
Yeah,
which makes sense, right?
and he does all the same things, just less.
Operations report?
For January, we ran 192, well, we had 192 requests for service. I was looking at last year's and it's right on track with what we did last year. We did have 12 more interfacility transfers this year than we did last year. So, busy month for transfers, we had 43. Otherwise, everything's pretty even. We're staying on track with what we've done in the past. Our transferring position was a tie between Eckler and Sarava this month. Well, actually, Castle was 2% higher. So, it's a busy month, lots of transfers this month. But aside from that, not a whole lot of change, not a lot to report.
Yeah, Dr. Weber was here yesterday and he didn't have any
And he
concerns.
said, I was gonna say, 100% report compliance from all crews as of yesterday. We trained over the last 2 weeks. Well, as far as the EMT program went, the MTB that we did, we graduated, we had 23 starred, 18 graduated, 16 eligible for boards. We have 12 that passed first-time takers on their boards. We have 1 so far that has to retest, and 3 are waiting. One's an age issue, 1 had a baby, and 1 more, I don't know, 1 more. But last weekend and the weekend before that, we trained 34 students from the surrounding county for their EMR, emergency medical responder, EMT, and paramedics recertification for their national registry and Colorado certifications. We did 24 hours BLS, basic life support, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, on 16th through 18th, and ALS 24 hours on the 23rd to 25. Amazing turnout. Everybody did really well. The EMT I2P program, we have established through Pueblo, and we will be starting we're looking at 2 EMTs that are qualified to go EMT paramedic, and they would start in May. And then we have 6 candidates that are EMTIs, 3 with us, 3 with Trinidad Fire. And we're looking at June orientation and August start, and we have a graduation in March. And I already met with Dawn, their program director, Dawn Mathis, and she's coming for a question answer, and we're gonna use a Polycom system, which is we got the voice right here, we just need to get the camera, and what we'll do is kind of like a co-teaching where we can Polycom their lectures here. If I'm lecturing here, we can do that there. So when I did the pharmacology class, I was broadcasting to Alamosa and here, so it's kind of the way, and we're looking at, what we can do with the cameras we have in there and how we can adapt the system for it. So
But
that'll
the
be.
people won't have to go to Pueblo
They
for all
will
the
not-
classes we're gonna do.
No, we're gonna do
That's
them.
what I'm saying, I mean,
Yeah.
it's convenient.
Yep, and I think one of their clinicals will have them do at Denver Children's, the pediatric. And then now that Pueblo has the L&D that they're doing there, I'm sorry, Parkview.
Right.
And the rest of it. So it'll be an accelerated program, 2 8-hour days a week, but.
That's a boatload of medics we're gonna be getting, so.
Well, we only have 7 now, so I
Right.
figure the 8 we'll put through, we have
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Good.
Which
Here,
would be
which is-
amazing.
Well, that's good.
Amazing.
We don't get that.
Well, but you remember the plan? You wanted everybody, we wanted everybody to be,
Trying to get the ALS out in the,
Yep.
out in the county, and then,
because,
you know,
I
we'll
mean,
have,
it starts here and then you branch out.
yep, a lot more
Good.
ALS.
Really proud of the turnout, though. We had all the volunteers.
Well, she's even got people coming to her stuff that, didn't need to be recerted, they just wanted to come.
They did, they did.
Refresh.
Yeah,
Just
no,
wanna come watch
out of the
her- watch her
34,
perform.
only 20 of them came. I mean, 20 of them needed to, and the rest of them came and just listened.
That's good.
Yeah, I was
Hey,
pleased.
that'll
Wonderful turnout.
Awesome. Okay, amend resolution for polling place election. So we need to select our polling place
Right, polling
locations?
places we've had in the past were Primero, in Aguilar at the community center, and here. The last actual election we had, so, right?
In 2012.
Yeah. So if those are okay, then you'd need to do a resolution vote to approve those. And that would be
What
stuff.
about, maybe out in Holyoke somewhere?
Well, once we, every place we do, we've got to pay more judges.
What was it, $200?
$200.
That was back in
Yeah.
2010, yeah. And you're required to have 2 judges at each polling place.
So each place is $400.
So I thought if we just stick with what we did in the past, then
For 2 places.
We had here, Romero, and
Aguilar,
Aguilar.
community center.
Discussion, anybody? We good with those 3 locations, or do we have to think about other locations, or? Are we required to have a certain amount?
No, you can have one, but I'm just going by historically what we did.
I think what you did in the county was to have one.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Well,
Well, people, if they can't get it, they can request
Mhm.
the ballot by mail, right? Nothing's even-
No, because you've elected to have a polling place election.
Right, but I thought she said.
I
there
thought
was
it
a-
said in there that if they wanted to, we could send them.
Right,
Yeah,
I think there is a provision that if somebody,
They have to request by a
They
certain
gotta,
time.
yeah,
Right.
they need to request.
the same way they would do, I mean, you have polling place elections
right.
in November, but you
Right.
can also do a request,
An
like an absentee.
absentee ballot.
Right.
Yeah, so it's like an absentee.
So you're gonna advertise this?
Oh, yeah. Spencer Fane handles all that. We just, the board just has to have the resolution to pick those places. And then after we do that, then we have the resolution and what we're paying.
So that people know.
Right,
It's easy to forget that.
yep.
So there's 2 things then, the locations and the dollar amount to be paid. So we can keep it still at the $200, or
I would think so, yeah.
it's okay to do that? All right, so I mean, I'm saying that's good. We gotta try and keep things as consistent as possible.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's just the exact same thing, so if that worked last time.
What do you guys think? Are you comfortable with keeping everything the same and
Well,
at $200?
Well, I
And,
think $200 is
And then-
enough for me.
yeah,
And Susan finds the judges, right?
She does all of that.
She does, so Spencer Fane handles all that. So
She's
all
our
we have to do
designated
is
election official.
pick the places and do and then she handles, that's why it's
Posting
expensive,
and all
because
of
they
it.
handle.
Yep.
She's the designated election official.
2010, what was the turnout? Was the turnout good or?
There were 94 ballots cast here at the district office.
Not many.
There were 39 ballots cast at the community center in Aguilar, and there were 6 ballots cast at the Primero School in 2010.
Not very democratic. I mean, you can't carry people to the polls and have them vote. I mean,
Well,
and some
you
people.
can, but it's.
But some people may not think that this is as important as a regular
Right,
election.
right.
Yeah,
But it's a life and death situation too, I mean, in a sense.
It all
because
matters.
You want it to run, right?
I'm good with keeping the 3 locations and like $200.
And it's pretty spread out, and narrow.
Well, I think we have to have one there,
Honey's not
one
that
there.
far, Honey's not that far to Canaan, so, I
Yeah.
mean,
Well, and
Aguilar's
Honey,
out there.
Dakota, Aguilar,
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah, I mean, either come into town or go out there. I don't see a problem with the 3 locations.
Okay,
So
so,
is that a motion?
Yeah, motion to set the polling locations and dollar amount of $200 per day.
okay,
Second that.
all right.
Are you still there, Derek?
Yeah, I can hear that.
Okay. I just,
Hard to hear, it's hard to do.
Yeah. Okay, so, roll call, please.
Joe Martinez, yes.
George Dasco, yes.
Derek Navarette, yes.
Matthew Moreno, yes.
Kathy Bueno, yes. Okay, so Barb, you'll take care of notifying her of all
I
those
will.
and getting all that
I'll
taken care
amend
of?
the original resolution that you passed for the polling place election to include this information, and I'll
Okay.
send it to Susan, and then she'll take it from there.
Okay. Any miscellaneous that we need to talk about? Anybody? No? Derek, you have anything?
No, I don't have it.
Okay. Executive session, we do have, item for the executive session. So this comes under the statutory authority F, which is 24-6-402 4F, CRS personnel matters, identifying the person or position to be discussed, which would be, Dan, and figuring out that final.
And we also have a legal, just a brief, a possible legal match.
Okay? All right?
Now, do we want to do like we've been doing, so we can get Tom out of here and just set our next date before we go into executive and all that?
We can definitely do that, so he doesn't have to wait.
have a motion.
There would be no, there's not gonna be any votes, yeah.
Yeah, nothing is to vote on. Okay, so, before we go into that executive session, our next meeting date is regularly scheduled for Wednesday, March 28th, 2017, 4:30. 17 on our agenda.
Oh, mine, it says 18.
2018.
Mine says 18. So Wednesday, March 28th, 18. I don't think I have an issue with that.
I don't.
Now that I'm in town, it's not an issue. So that'll be our next meeting date.
And
Okay,
then,
Motion.
Is it legal matters? Personnel
Oh,
matters?
personnel.
personnel.
Personnel and legal.
Okay, so we have a motion.
Motion, second.
Roll call.
Joe Martinez, yes.
George Dasco, yes.
Derek Navarette, yes.
Matthew Moreno, yes.
Kathy Bueno, yes.